Have you ever noticed that the moments when you feel most alone are also the moments when your inner voice becomes unmistakably clear? We often fear solitude, believing it signals emptiness or emotional disconnection. But in Buddhist wisdom, solitude is not a void, it is a mirror, a quiet space where the noise of the world fades and your true self finally has room to speak. Solitude is not negative. It's a state that allows you to look inward and understand your own mind more deeply. It offers a pause in a life filled with expectations, deadlines, and pressure. It's the sacred moment when the mind settles, like a still pond revealing the reflection beneath its surface. Zen teachings remind us of something simple yet profound. When you stop running from yourself, you finally begin to see yourself, and that insight becomes the seed of inner peace. Many of us spend years trying to fix the outer world, changing jobs, searching for better circumstances, chasing recognition, hoping that calmness will appear once everything around us aligns perfectly. But calmness grows from within, and solitude is the soil where that calmness takes root. Ask yourself honestly, when was the last time you allowed yourself to be alone without reaching for your phone, music, or a distraction? Most people aren't scared of being alone. They're scared of meeting the thoughts they've been avoiding. Silence exposes the emotions buried beneath routines, responsibilities, and pretending. But what if silence isn't something to fear? What if silence is the medicine your mind has been craving? Modern psychology echoes this ancient truth. Mindful solitude strengthens emotional resilience, deepens self-awareness, and reconnects you with your values. It clears away the mental dust, revealing what actually matters and what is simply noise. Sometimes solitude isn't about stepping away from life. It's about stepping back into yourself. It's asking, what am I truly feeling? What do I genuinely want? If I stop performing for the world, who am I underneath? These questions may seem simple, but they open a door to healing no achievement can replace. And as you grow more comfortable with solitude, something subtle yet powerful begins to shift. You stop depending on others to fill the spaces within you. You stop chasing validation. Instead, you discover a quiet strength, a centeredness that doesn't collapse when life changes. Zen masters often say, a person who is at peace in solitude becomes unshakable. Because once you are no longer afraid of being alone, nothing outside of you has the power to control your inner weather. So the next time life feels overwhelming, resist the urge to escape into distraction. Sit with yourself. Breathe. Let the noise settle. You may discover that solitude is not the absence of connection, but the beginning of a deeper connection with your truth, your strength, and your authentic self. In our daily thinking, we often believe that suffering comes from the world outside, someone's words, life's unexpected events, or things refusing to go our way. But when we look deeper, we realize a simple truth. Pain doesn't come from circumstances. It comes from how our mind responds to those circumstances. That is why the old teaching says, the mind is the root, master the mind, and life becomes peaceful. And we will now move into the first part of today's video, a peaceful mind, the root of a calm life. When the mind is restless, even a small breeze feels like a storm. When the mind is chaotic, one careless comment can keep us awake all night. But when the mind is calm, we can stand firm even in turmoil like an ancient tree with deep roots, steady through all winds that come and go. There is a story of a man who walked daily along a path lined with bamboo. Rain or storm, the bamboo always knew how to bend. It did not resist the wind. It simply swayed gently and returned to its upright shape when the wind passed. The man said, I learned something. Peace is not about staying still. It is about knowing how to soften in the moments that challenge you. So it is with the human mind. When we are rigid, we break easily. When we are gentle, we can pass through anything. Many people believe peace means having no worries, no sadness, no storms. But true peace is having a place to return whenever storms rise, and that place is your own mind. Like a skilled sailor who cannot control the ocean but can control the wheel, we too can navigate our inner waves. Look within yourself. How many of your struggles come simply from overthinking? A small criticism becomes a week-long burden. A minor mistake turns into a heavy regret overnight. An event that hasn't happened yet becomes a source of fear. In truth, life is not heavy. Our mind is heavy because it holds too much. It's like carrying a backpack filled with stones. No one forces us to carry it, yet we keep it on because we think we must. Only when we put the backpack down do we realize that it wasn't the road that tired us, it was the stones. A peaceful mind does not ignore difficulties. It simply knows what to put down. A simple practice many people use. Whenever the mind feels unsettled, pause and ask, is this feeling coming from the situation or from how I'm interpreting it? That small question can create space enough for clarity to return. The miracle is this. When the mind becomes calm, life naturally feels lighter. Not because circumstances change, but because the way we perceive them does. If one day you feel overwhelmed by life, remember, you don't need to change the whole world. You only need to return to your mind and change the way you look at the world. When the mind is bright, the path becomes bright. When the mind is peaceful, life naturally softens like a still lake at dawn, smoothing itself the moment the wind quiets. And that is the first doorway to a truly calm life, mastering the mind. After understanding that a peaceful life begins with mastering the mind, a natural question arises. What should we do with the things our mind cannot control? This is where the journey of inner freedom deepens. And with that gentle transition, we now move into the next section of today's video, letting go of what lies beyond our hands. Much of human suffering comes not from reality, but from the silent battles we wage within ourselves, the desperate effort to control people, events, outcomes, and even the flow of time. We cling to expectations the way someone at sea might cling to driftwood, believing that holding tighter will save us. But clinging does not save, it exhausts. Letting go is not giving up. Letting go is choosing not to carry what was never ours to hold. Imagine standing beside a river. You throw a leaf into the water and watch it drift. You cannot force it to move upstream. You cannot command the river to freeze. But you can choose whether you stand there in frustration or breathe deeply and allow the river to be the river. Life flows in the same way, gently when we trust it, painfully when we resist it. Many people live in constant tension, trying to control how others think of them, trying to force the future to match their expectations, trying to guarantee a specific outcome from every effort. But life does not bend to our will. People are shaped by their own journeys. The future unfolds with its own rhythms. Results blossom in ways we may not foresee. When we demand control over what inherently moves beyond us, we create a prison inside ourselves. There is a story of a woman who planted a small garden. Every day she watered her plants, watched over them, and cared for the soil. But she constantly worried, will they grow enough? Will the rain be too harsh? Will pests come? Will the flowers bloom on time? Her mind lived in fear, even though her hands had done everything possible. One day an old gardener walked by and said, "You tend to the soil, but you torment your heart. Flowers open when they are ready, not when we insist." That day she realized that true freedom is not in controlling nature, but in trusting the process. Human life is no different. We are responsible for effort, not results. We can sow, nurture, prepare, and learn. But the outcomes belong to a larger flow, what some call life, others call fate, and some simply call reality. Letting go means this. Do your best, but stop gripping the final result as if your life depends on it. When you release the need to control, something magical happens. You make room for peace. Your mind stops chasing after future scenarios like a dog chasing its own shadow. You begin to breathe again. Letting go also softens relationships. When we stop trying to control others, how they behave, how they feel, how they respond, we begin to love them more honestly. To love someone is not to mold them, but to understand them. To support them without chaining them to our expectations. A powerful practice is to ask yourself, is this within my control or only within my desire? If it's within your actions, act. If it's only within your desire, release. Life becomes clearer when divided like that. The art of letting go is not about withdrawing from the world. It is about participating fully while staying free inside. Like an archer who aims with great focus but accepts that once the arrow leaves the bow, the wind may guide it. Effort is ours. Outcome is life's. And when we honor that boundary, we discover a profound inner spaciousness. The heart becomes lighter. The mind becomes quieter. The path becomes gentler. To let go of what lies beyond your hands is to return to yourself. To return to yourself is to be free. After learning how to release what is beyond our control, something softens inside us. The mind becomes less tangled, less burdened, more spacious. And from that spaciousness arises a deeper realization. The truth that much of our anxiety does not come from life itself, but from leaving the present moment. With that gentle flow, we now move to the next part of today's video, returning to the only moment that truly exists. Most people spend their lives trapped between two worlds, the weight of the past and the shadows of the future. One pulls, one pushes, and the present, the only moment where peace exists, gets squeezed out of awareness. The past says, "You should have done better." The future whispers, "What if something goes wrong?" And the mind, caught between these echoes, forgets the simple truth. Right now is the only place life is actually happening. Imagine holding a cup of water. If your hand trembles because you're thinking of yesterday's mistakes, the water spills. If your hand shakes because you fear tomorrow's storms, the water spills again. But when the hand becomes steady, rooted in the present, the cup stays full. That steady hand is mindfulness. That full cup is peace. Living in the present does not mean ignoring responsibilities or pretending the past did not shape us. It means recognizing that the only moment we can breathe, choose, heal, or act is now. Many people believe their anxiety is caused by circumstances, but more often, anxiety is born from mental time travel, reliving old pain or rehearsing future disasters. The more the mind wanders, the more the heart tightens. There is a Zen saying, "Anxiety is a gap between now and later. The wider the gap, the heavier the suffering." Think of your mind as a lamp. When its light shines backward, you see old wounds. When it shines forward, you see imagined fears. But when it shines on the present moment, everything becomes clearer, softer, easier to carry. Here is a simple example. One man wakes up and immediately thinks, "What if today goes wrong? What if the meeting fails? What if I disappoint someone?" Even before stepping out of bed, he's already tired because he's been living in the imagined future for hours. Another man wakes up, feels the warmth of the blanket, listens to his breath, places his feet gently on the floor, and starts with the moment he's actually in. The same morning, two completely different worlds. Mindfulness is not about forcing calm. It is about coming home to your breath, your body, your experience, without running away. To live in the present is to treat each moment as if it were the first time you truly met yourself. How does your breath feel right now? How does your heart feel when you stop chasing what was and what might be? When you anchor yourself to the present, something profound happens. Regret loses its claws. Fear loses its voice. Life becomes lighter, like a window opening after a long winter. One helpful practice: whenever your mind wanders, gently tell yourself, "Come back." Not as a command, but as an invitation. Come back to the breath. Come back to the body. Come back to the moment that needs you. The present moment is not always comfortable. Sometimes it is confusing, messy, or painful, but it is real. And what is real can be cared for, healed, and transformed. The past cannot be changed. The future cannot be controlled, but the present can be embraced. A life lived in the present is like walking barefoot on warm earth. Real, steady, grounding. You feel your steps instead of rushing past them. To live here now is to finally return to yourself. And in returning, you discover that peace was never far, only hidden beneath all the moments you were not here to witness. There is a quiet strength that often goes unnoticed, a skill that doesn't demand praise or make noise, yet it has the power to transform the way you live. This strength is the ability to observe without absorbing. It sounds simple, but in a world where emotions, opinions, and chaotic energy are constantly moving around us, this skill becomes a lifeline for inner peace. Many people grow up believing that every emotion they feel must be wrestled with, managed, or solved immediately. We're taught to identify with our reactions, to assume that whatever we feel is automatically who we are. But what if that isn't true? What if emotions are not identity, but simply experiences passing through? This is where the principle of observe, don't absorb begins. It asks you to take one step back, not to disconnect from life, but to see things more clearly. When you observe an emotion, you create a gentle space around it. In that space, you are no longer pulled by every thought or reaction. You become the steady witness, not the storm. Imagine a moment when irritation rises in you. Instead of saying, I am angry, try saying, anger is arising. This small shift helps you detach identity from emotion. The feeling doesn't become your definition. It becomes something you're simply noticing. That awareness alone softens the intensity. You're no longer being controlled by the emotion, you're understanding it. This practice is not about avoiding feelings or pretending they don't exist. It's about letting emotions move naturally, without letting them overpower your clarity. Thoughts and feelings are like waves. They rise, peak, and fall. When you observe instead of absorbing, you allow this natural cycle to happen without drowning in it. But you might ask, why is this skill so important? Because everything around you, people's moods, opinions, expectations, conflicts can easily seep into your emotional space if you don't have boundaries. Without the ability to observe, you may unintentionally carry what doesn't belong to you. Someone else's stress becomes your stress. Someone else's insecurity becomes your self-doubt. Someone else's chaos becomes your burden. Observation is your filter. Absorption is a habit of survival, but learning to observe is a habit of peace. And here comes the transition to the next part. In every journey of emotional clarity, there is a moment when you must shift from recognizing the pattern to understanding its deeper purpose. This is that moment. So now, let's gently move to the next idea that connects naturally with this principle. How non-attachment keeps you grounded even when the world tries to pull you in different directions. This is our transition, and from here, we'll move to the next section. And now, this is the moment where our journey naturally shifts. Every inner path reaches a point where disciplined practice meets deeper meaning, and repetition becomes the foundation for what we're about to explore next. So from here, we'll move to the next section. Repetition builds strength, the daily practice that shapes inner stability. We often celebrate big breakthroughs, sudden moments of clarity, and dramatic transformations. But the truth is, real inner strength rarely comes from a single moment. It grows quietly through repetition, small, steady practices that shape the mind the same way exercise shapes the body. Just as muscles respond to consistent training, the mind also becomes stronger when we nourish it day after day. Most people underestimate the power of repetition. They assume deep calm or clarity must come from something extraordinary. A perfect meditation session, a profound realization, or a rare spark of insight. In reality, the foundation of inner peace is built from something far simpler. Returning, again and again, to mindfulness, to breath, to stillness. When you repeat a practice, you teach your mind a new rhythm. You show it where home is, even if the mind wanders, even if the breath feels uneven, even if your thoughts are noisy. Coming back is the training. Returning is the strength. That gentle return, practiced daily, creates a resilient core within you. Think of mindfulness not as a goal, but as a habit. When you take a mindful breath today, it might feel small. When you take another tomorrow, it still may seem subtle. But the 100th breath, the 1,000th, that is where transformation happens. Repetition rewires the emotional pathways of the mind. It teaches you to respond rather than react, to pause rather than be pulled, to observe rather than drown in your thoughts. Breathing becomes more natural. Stillness feels more familiar. Inner quiet grows, not through force, but through practice. And this is where the idea of inner strength, Neuluk, comes alive. Inner strength is not built in moments of calm, it is built in the daily choice to return to calm. Every time you choose mindfulness over chaos, breathing over panic, presence over distraction, you're reinforcing a stable foundation inside yourself. Bit by bit, the mind becomes steadier, clearer, and more grounded. Repetition is not boring, it is stabilizing. Repetition is not weakness, it is conditioning. Repetition is not routine, it is transformation happening quietly beneath the surface. But repetition does more than build inner skill. It also prepares you for difficult moments. When a storm hits emotionally, mentally, or externally, your repeated practice becomes a memory your body can access. The breath you train becomes the breath that carries you through stress. The stillness you cultivated becomes the calm that holds you when everything else feels overwhelming. And now, this brings us to an important transition. Every inner journey eventually reaches a point where discipline meets meaning, where the work you repeat becomes the foundation for what comes next. We are arriving at that place now. So let's shift gently to the next idea, where we explore how consistency strengthens your emotional foundation and prepares you for deeper clarity. There comes a moment on the inner journey when we begin to understand something essential. Peace is rarely taken from us most of the time. We hand it away through our reactions, and that understanding guides us gently into what we'll explore next. So from here, we'll move to the next section, choosing stillness over reaction, the quiet strength within. Every day, life presents situations designed to test the stability of our inner world. An unexpected comment, a sudden disappointment, a plan that falls apart, most people react instantly, as if pulled by an invisible string. But reaction isn't strength, it's simply habit, and habits formed in chaos lead us back into chaos. Stillness, on the other hand, is not passive, it's not weakness. In the teachings of modern Zen, stillness is described as a warrior who has mastered the art of not being provoked. A warrior who sees clearly, waits patiently, and chooses consciously. When we pause before reacting, even for a single breath, something extraordinary happens. The situation loses its power over us. That breath becomes a doorway, a small space where awareness can step in and instinct can step aside. And in that space, we begin to return to ourselves. Imagine a lake on a windy day. The surface is chaotic, restless, unable to reflect anything clearly. But when the wind stops, the water settles on its own. You don't have to force it. You don't have to command it. Stillness is its natural state. The mind is the same. The moment we stop feeding it with impulsive reactions, it begins to settle. And when it settles, we see life with clarity instead of distortion. Many people confuse reacting with taking control. But reacting means the world pushes you, and you push back without thinking. True control, true inner authority, comes from the ability to stay calm when everything around you invites you to be otherwise. Modern psychology agrees with ancient Zen teachings here. A calm nervous system perceives reality more accurately. When we are agitated, our brain interprets everything as a threat, but when we are still, we respond from wisdom instead of fear. Choosing stillness does not mean suppressing emotions. It does not mean pretending we are unaffected. It means we acknowledge the emotion, but we don't let it drive the car. We hold the steering wheel. We choose the direction. Think of the people you admire most, those who feel grounded, steady, trustworthy. Their power doesn't come from speaking loudly or reacting quickly. It comes from their presence, from the knowledge that nothing outside them can dictate their inner state unless they permit it. Stillness is that permission withheld. And once we experience the strength of stillness even once, we begin to crave it not as escape, but as home. A quiet space within us that no argument, no chaos, and no misunderstanding can erase. This practice becomes especially powerful when we remember one simple truth. The world does not need your reaction. It needs your clarity. And clarity only comes from stillness. As you continue this journey, you'll notice a subtle shift within yourself. Fewer things will trigger you, fewer words will sting, and even when difficulties appear, you'll navigate them with a softness that protects your peace instead of breaking it. Stillness gives you the power to respond, not react, to choose, not obey your impulses, to lead your life from the inside out. And in that choice, you reclaim a strength that has always been yours. There is a moment in every spiritual journey when inner calm is no longer enough. Quieting the mind gives us clarity, but something deeper is needed to truly transform the way we live and the way we see others. And that realization brings us gently and naturally toward what comes next. So from here, we'll move to the next section. Compassion, the heart of true wisdom. Many people think wisdom is only about understanding, insight, and mental clarity. But in Zen Buddhism, wisdom without compassion is considered incomplete, like a lamp without light. It may have shape, but it has no radiance. Compassion is the warmth that gives wisdom its purpose. When we speak about compassion, we're not referring to pity or forced kindness. Compassion in the modern Zen sense means seeing the human behind the behavior, recognizing the pain beneath the anger, the fear beneath the harsh word, the confusion behind the mistake. It is the ability to look at someone and understand. They too are suffering in ways I cannot see. This does not excuse harmful actions, but it expands our perspective. It frees us from the narrow view that everything others do is about us. And when we stop taking things personally, a new kind of freedom arises. Forgiveness becomes possible not because others deserve it, but because we deserve peace. Anger and resentment are heavy anchors. They keep us tied to past moments that no longer exist. Every time we hold on to them, we relive emotions that drain our inner strength. Compassion is what cuts the rope, not by force, but by understanding. Imagine holding a burning coal in your hand and waiting for someone else to feel the pain. That is what resentment does. Compassion is the moment you finally open your hand and let the coal fall away. Forgiveness in the Zen sense does not mean forgetting, accepting hurt, or pretending everything is fine. It means you stop allowing the past to poison the present. It means you choose spaciousness over tightness, openness over contraction. And when compassion fills the heart, something remarkable happens. Anger loses its home. That is why compassion is considered the highest expression of inner peace. It is not soft. It is not fragile. It is one of the most powerful forms of strength a human being can cultivate. When you look at someone who hurt you and instead of reacting, you pause and see their suffering, you reclaim your dignity. When you choose to respond with clarity instead of revenge, you rise above the situation rather than sink into it. And when you let go of old anger, you recover parts of yourself you didn't even realize were missing. Modern psychology confirms what Buddhism has taught for centuries. Compassion reduces stress responses, improves mental resilience, and reshapes the brain regions responsible for emotional balance. But beyond science, compassion simply feels like truth because deep inside, we all long to love and be loved, to understand and be understood. Compassion also extends inward. Some of the harshest judgments we experience come from our own mind. We criticize ourselves for not being enough, not healing fast enough, not becoming who we should be. But healing cannot grow where self-hatred rests. Just as a seed needs soft soil, the heart needs gentleness to unfold. Self-compassion becomes the bridge between who we are and who we can become. It reminds us that growth takes time, that mistakes are not failures but teachers, and that we deserve patience just as much as anyone else. When compassion becomes our way of life, relationships heal, inner storms quiet, and we begin to see the world not as a battlefield, but as a shared human journey where everyone is doing their best with the awareness they have. In the end, compassion is not just a feeling. It is a practice, a daily choice, a quiet revolution in the way we see ourselves and others. Peace is not something we chase. Peace is something we return to. All this time, many of us believed that if life finally stopped throwing challenges at us, if people behaved the way we hoped, if circumstances aligned perfectly, then peace would naturally appear. But life, in its honest nature, has never promised us perfection. What it offers instead is a chance to awaken, a chance to strengthen the heart, a chance to see clearly who we become when everything around us is uncertain. And that is the essence of today's final message. Peace does not arise from a perfect life. It arises from a trained mind, a steady mind, a mind that has learned to breathe instead of panic, to observe instead of react, to soften instead of tighten. When your mind becomes grounded, you become unshakable not because the world becomes gentle, but because you finally understand your own inner strength. Storms may come, people may disappoint, plans may fall apart, yet your heart, trained through daily mindfulness, becomes a silent mountain, still, stable, and deeply alive. And here is the beautiful truth. You are not becoming peaceful, you are returning to the peace that was always yours. Every breath you have taken today is already guiding you home to yourself. Every moment of awareness, no matter how small, is reshaping the way you walk through the world. Every act of compassion you choose toward yourself and toward others is dissolving the weight you no longer need to carry. So as we close this journey, I want you to feel this clearly. You are capable of a mind that nothing can shake. Not because you avoid life, but because you are learning how to live it with depth, clarity, and courage. Let this be the beginning, not the end. In the quiet space after this video ends, place your hand on your chest just for a moment and feel the life moving inside you. Feel the softness. Feel the resilience. Feel the truth that peace is already within your reach, waiting for your attention, waiting for your practice. Before you go, I invite you to take one simple step. Comment one thing you want to cultivate in your inner life this week. Peace, patience, compassion, clarity, or anything your heart whispers. Your reflection might be exactly what someone else needs to see today. And if this journey touched something inside you, then I promise the next videos will go even deeper. More healing, more clarity, more guidance for a calm, unshakable mind. I'll see you there. We'll walk this path together.